GBS.
Good evening and welcome to the Insight once again. Happy New Year. My name is Eugene Kwach, and of course we are inviting you to this discourse on GBS TV Africa, where we come to you every Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. as we get to discuss issues that have actually arisen on politics, governance, current affairs and economy, amongst many other issues. Well, today, what do we have for you? Well, the big question is, what defines Kenya today? Well, is it the resilience of its people? Is it the boldness of its leaders, or the complexities in its governance and economic structures? Well, in a time when Kenya stands at a crossroads, the Insight, of course, will delve deeply into the heart of these pivotal questions that we are asking tonight. And of course, you join me, Eugene Kwach, as a lead in this unfiltered conversation with two gentlemen. We have with us Professor Fred Ogola, a leading activist, an expert in politics and governance. Of course, he'll help us to dive deeply into these issues. But of course, we don't have Fred Ogola alone, Professor. We also have Dr. Joseph Mugashia, a respected scholar and a governance specialist, analyst, who is not the first time actually joining us for this conversation. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for you making time to speak to Kenyans, of course, on very pertinent issues affecting the Kenyans. Permit me to start with you, Professor. From where you are, from where you sit, in all the hats that you wear as an economist, a business strategist, and all, where does Kenya stand?
I would say that Kenya is at a tipping point where things can go completely off tangent and get out of control, or Kenyans can get it right. Unfortunately, it is in their hands, because we know very well that the country is hurting in terms of economy. The country is hurting in terms of leadership. There's a leadership crisis. Many countries have leadership problems, but in Kenya, it's now become to be a crisis. It's a crisis whereby leadership is about followership. And when opinion poll shows that the current administration has 17% support from Kenyans,
Yes.
then who is following them? Because if no one is following you, only 17% of people are following you.
Yes.
Out of the 83%,
Yes.
who is their father and where they are going?
Yes.
So more people are lost into where Kenya is going, and very few people are comfortable, because you know very well the indicators are not working for them. There's no single sector in Kenya that's working. Education is not working. Healthcare is not working. You go to the infrastructure, roads. There's no any major road project going on anywhere in the country. Actually, I can say there's no single major infrastructural project going on anywhere. So it means jobs are not being created. Young people, the Gen Z, who went to the street, the government gave a budget of 4.2 trillion, and then the CS reads that they have frozen employment. So ask anybody on the street. I was in Malindi. I was in Kisumu for Christmas. Then I was in Malindi for the New Year. Even there were no decorations, because there was no sign of celebration anywhere. So Kenya is at a crossroad. And I want to tell Kenyans that it is in your hands. And because it's in your hands, you talk about resilience. You talk about Kenyans being at a crossroad.
Yes.
Kenyans can choose the path less traveled. And that's why we champion for alternative leadership, because alternative means that you are not using the primary path.
We'll come to that conversation on alternative leadership. But of course, Dr. Mugashia, you're also an expert in governance and politics, and you've quite been an advocate as Professor has been. What is your take on where we are as Kenyans?
Thank you very much, Coach. First of all, I would like to agree with what Professor has said, that Kenya is at the tipping point. Our leadership it has reached a point where it can't offer anything new to Kenyans.
Yes.
We are at a point where the citizenry have to take the law into their own hands.
Okay.
We have had this issue of very, very serious insecurity for citizens, where all of us are scared that tomorrow you might be abducted, tomorrow you might be killed. We are looking over our shoulders. That we had very long ago in the regime of Daniel Moi.
Yes.
And we never thought after 2002 that we would ever get to this kind of situation. Now, why we say Kenya is at a tipping point is because when you see citizens having to take the law into their own hands and they have to protect themselves against the same people
Yes.
who have been who they have employed to protect them, then you know that the leadership has gone overboard completely.
Yes.
Now, I want to put into focus what happened in between June, July, and part of August during the Gen Z revolution, protests. And these were not really Gen Z protests. They were protests by Kenyans.
Yes.
Because even other Kenyans were protesting, but they didn't go to the streets.
Yes.
So what has happened? The government has come up and started abducting its own citizens.
Yes.
That is what we are seeing.
Okay.
The president has come forward and said that he doesn't know who is abducting citizens. The Inspector General of Police has come up and said the same,
Yes.
and so has the director
Okay.
of DCI.
Okay.
So that now what has happened? In the last few weeks, you have seen Kenyans beating up policemen and other people who are thought to be abductors. Now that is a very bad sign.
Okay.
Because it means that the Kenyans have decided to take the law into their own hands and protect themselves.
Yes.
And that is what any citizen would do
Yes.
when the president and the top security managers
Yes.
have failed to protect them and have completely denied
Yes.
that they have responsibility over citizens.
Okay, thank you. Well, I want us to move to a very critical issue that all of you have actually mentioned when you're talking about the state of Kenya, and that will begin with the economy. And when you talk about the economy, all of you have actually mentioned that where we are economically, we are at the tipping point. We are not quite well, according to you guys. But now, according to the president and actually the Kenya Kwanza regime, as they've mentioned, is that we are quite better. The president, William Ruto, has expressed optimism about our Kenya's economic performance. Actually, he highlighted several key achievements and reforms by his government, which he believes have actually set the country a path to a rapid, sustainable growth. For instance, he mentioned Kenya's GDP, which he said that has grown by 5.6%. And he mentioned that is in 2023. He also noted of inflation that actually has fallen to 2.8% in November 2024, the lowest in nearly 2 decades. And then additionally, the president emphasized on strengthening Kenyan shillings and, of course, increasing Kenyan foreign reserves. I don't know from where you sit, because these are some of the things actually that the president mentioned. And when you look at it, maybe as an economist, and the president mentioning this, showing that we actually are heading to a better place economically. I don't know, as a business strategist and as an economist, from your angle, do you think this is true? Are these facts? If they are, then why do you think Kenya is at a bad place?
Kwash, let me just ask you, suppose you are a parent.
Yes.
And your son comes back from school and gives you his own report card, not from the teacher.
Yes.
Will you believe him? Or when you were in school, you were in high school, You go to school and tell your father that you are an A material and that you have scored all A's in all subjects.
Yes.
And there is no report book, there is no report form. Will your parents take it? So when someone goes to the camera and gives you his own scorecard, and it is different from what the person who should give the scorecard is, it doesn't work. When someone says the economy is well...
Who should give the scorecard?
Treasury. You go to a website for the central bank. When someone cannot disburse money to take kids to school, was it not on the papers? Cash crisis. When some schools, teachers are saying they are going to go on strike. Doctors are starting strike on Monday for non-payment. SHA is not working. So all those things he's saying, can't you see them? Have you seen God calling a press conference to tell you it is raining? God brings rains, isn't it? God doesn't call a press conference and give a scorecard that I've given you 20 liters of rain. So let me go to the numbers now.
Yes.
For you to understand this, you have to understand the GBT figures are correct. But let us understand there's a difference between economic development and economic growth. You can grow. You have seen people who are very tall, isn't it? But are they developed? So GDP can grow. What is GDP growth? Is how much government is collecting in terms of revenue. That's GDP growth. You understand? But development is what does it do with the money? So development can be seen in education. What's the transition from primary school to secondary school? That is development now. What is the transition from secondary to university? At the moment, those figures have gone down. During Uhuru, they were 100% transition. Now, ask people who have done exam. So the exams were out. How many people are going to go to university? Last year, 2024, 52.1% of those who sat for KCSE could not go to university. Now, from the figures coming out, now they are 54.8% of those who sat KCSE will not see university. So is that growth?
Okay.
Because, for example, even if I say this, we are fathers at home.
Yes.
You tell your wife that my salary has been increased, isn't it? But the kids continue eating just sukuma wiki, omena, ugali is the same in the same house, in the same school. Are they seeing the impact of the increment? So the growth in terms of GDP, in terms of how much taxes they can collect is growing.
Okay.
But the money is going somewhere which should not go.
Okay.
So people receive benefit of that GDP where you put the money.
Okay.
So why is the president putting the money? Tell me. Do you know any? Education in shambles.
Okay.
You saw another mother going to Ministry of Health, bombarding the minister there, the people calling a press conference, isn't it? So there is no economic growth. Then the issue of inflation is good to explain.
Yes.
Inflation is not measured in absolute terms. They compare how was it in the last 3 months, then they say it has dropped by 2.8%. For example, if you take me to hospital, when my blood pressure is 210, isn't it? Then you come back and check and find out it is 195. Am I okay? No. It's comparative relative to what was happening. You understand? So that does not mean that the actual inflation figures are accurate. Then, of course, now, lastly, we want to see the president talk about things which are tangible. Like, for example, food. What's the cost of food? Has it gone down? What is the cost of electricity? Tokens have gone up. That's not true. Okay. You find, for example, cost of transport. How many Kenyans travel over Christmas? Do you know? Very few people travel because there was no need even to travel. There was no money. So in terms of tangible, the feel. The sun can be hot, but you're inside a room that you cannot feel the heat of the sun. So the economy is not doing well as per the people. Let the people tell people. Like now, if you ask people who are under Uhuru, people under Kibaki, people under Ruto, which people are happier economically? It's Kibaki, isn't it? Did Kibaki tell you his scorecard? No. It is the people telling Kibaki, Mr. President, we can feel your economy. Can't people tell the president whether they are feeling his economy? So these self-calculated scorecards are not supposed to be taken by Kenyans. Seriously, Mr. President, how to know? If the economy was doing well, Kenyans should have been happy by around 50, 60%. But Kenyans are only 17% happy.
Okay.
Kibaki, they were 43% after the first term.
Okay. Let me just ask you this before I come to Dr. Ari.
Yes.
There's quite much actually to discuss, because you're talking about the economic performance, but now how do we now compare to other countries in the region? Because perhaps it could be a global challenge.
No, actually, if you compare globally, then you discover the president is completely not helping us. He said he has stabilized the Kenya shilling against the dollar, isn't it? If you look at the depreciation of the Kenya shillings against the dollar, Kenya against the dollar, then you compare Tanzania against the dollar, during his first term, the first year, the depreciation was too steep. Now, if you look at the appreciation of Kenya shillings against the dollar, and you compare that with Tanzania and Uganda and Ethiopia, we have appreciated less than those countries. So comparatively, we are worse off. Look, us guys who travel to Addis Ababa, there's more travel there. There's more foreign direct investment there. The corruption index in Kenya is very bad. The president has been given an award of the second most corrupt leader in the world. Is that a good trophy to achieve economically? Now, go there. Poverty index have gone up significantly. Kenyans are getting poorer and poorer. And therefore, those figures he's mentioning, they are figures of convenience.
Thank you. Actually, that builds on the next question, which I want us to quite tackle on. And
can we say something before the next question? Because this is important. The president tells us the economy is growing. I'm not an economist, but I'm a businessman. Yet, when we look at the people who are coming to us, even the foreigners are complaining about the cost of living in the country. You go to every Kenyan, they are complaining they don't have money. We are seeing people stopping using services they were using because they don't have money. There is no money coming in. Now, what the president needs, before we go there, again, you check, there is no tangible development project that you are seeing going on. Yet the president tells us the economy is growing. Now, the president needs to know this very, very clearly, that the work of a president is not supposed to be touted. He is not supposed to come and tell people how he is doing well. We are supposed to feel it. We are not even supposed to see it. We are supposed to feel it. That you feel you have worked, there is money in your pocket. When you use a road, you feel the road is good. But the president is not supposed to come and tell us how well he is working. We are supposed to feel it. Then after feeling it, we will see it and we will hear from others.
And the question, because this is critical, talk about the reduction in the level of imports to the country. Nyamakimwa is feeling it. Go to Mukweni Dairy. They have imported powder milk worth 1.6 billion shillings, while milk is rotting in Mukweni, Odaya Dairy, Githunguri, isn't it? So how are they managing the economy when a Kenyan is getting their products rotting when you are importing a Chinese product? So what I'm trying to say in short, these people are incapable of managing the economy, and that's why the numbers they are showing us, they are not adding up, because on the street it's not working. Look, go to places like Gekomba. You'll find that the business activities have gone down. You go, for example, the people who sell electronics along Moi Avenue. For example, when schools were opening, universities were opening, people should buy laptops. They should buy electronics. Go ask them. We talk to them every day. Sometimes, me and Joe sometimes take a walk, and we ask people, how much sales have you made? No one is even buying headphones. So the economy is not doing well because Kenyans do not have disposable income because of the economic policy.
Interesting. Well, let me ask you a question, because actually it was a conversation that we actually are building, and then it leads us to a very critical issue that you guys have talked about, corruption, and of course then the leadership. And I want to ask you a very pertinent question, maybe to tell us about the state of leadership and governance in the country. And of course, because we understand that it's facing significant challenges, of course we have recent surveys which actually indicate a growing distrust in the public institution due to issues that you have mentioned, like corruption, lack of accountability and inefficiency. Now, there's a survey that was done, the Afrobarometer survey, which show in key state institutions like now the presidency, we have the parliament and the judiciary have declined over the past few years. Additionally, we have the Abraham Index of African Governance, which actually highlights that Kenya has made notable improvements in infrastructure, of course, and economic opportunities, but it still struggles with some issues. Now, that is security, rule of law, and anti-corruption efforts. Perhaps when you look at it from where you sit, first of all, talk about the state of leadership and governance itself. We will talk about corruption deeply, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
You know, Kenyans must understand
Yes.
that one of the major services that you get from government,
Yes.
actually top on the agenda even before health, is security. If you're not secure, you can never be comfortable in the country where you are living, because you spend a lot trying to secure yourself. You stop doing things that you would have been doing because you have to move away from areas where you feel insecure. I have talked to a number of people, and what people tell me is that nowadays I feel comfortable when I go home early. And I've checked and I've called a number of people, and you find that they are at home very early. Personally, I don't want to be in places that I don't need to be in. Now, when you come to the building of the economy, you cannot build the economy in an environment where you do not feel safe. It is not possible. I look at since my background is veterinary medicine, so I look at animals. Security is ingrained in every living creature, including even plants. You find when plants are growing and they are crowded, you'll see them moving away to stop the competition. Animals, the same thing. Now, with the humans, when you look at the young people in Kenya, for instance, the young people are the people who are working very hard and who normally will spend a lot of time out there either doing business or even in employment, doing overtimes and all that. But now when you talk to them, they tell you, no, I don't want to risk. I feel I'm not safe in this country. So, in terms of security, the government has failed us completely. The governance in security is actually unacceptable. When you come to service delivery, again, we have talked about this, but I would like to pick the hospitals. I want to say openly here on national TV with people watching that we don't have hospitals, public hospitals in Kenya. What we are having are actually slaughterhouses. The reason I say this is because I've seen several cases. One of them was in that was Kiambu Hospital, and somebody went there, and she was at the hospital with a broken leg, and it was never fixed. When I saw that person, the leg was growing in a crooked way. It was never fixed. Why? They were told the system for payment is not working. So unless they had the money, they would not be treated. Now, this is repeating so often until, as you saw the other day, the patients from Kenyatta went to the Ministry of Health. You know, when that happens, you ask the same question. Mr. President, where are you taking this money that you are saying is being generated from the economy? Where is this money going? Then it comes now to the question of corruption then. You must be taking the money to uses other than for service and development of the people. Therefore, now the other thing, when you look at our governance, leadership and governance, it is unfortunate that the public service, which is the backbone of governance and leadership as well, is not functional. I don't know the last time you had a director talking somewhere, saying that this is what my directorate is doing to serve the people. We have had a case which is running, the issue of vaccination of animals, that is cattle, sheep, and goats. I cannot understand why the president is pushing the vaccination of animals. That is not his docket. It is the domain of the Director of Veterinary Services. But he has taken it, and I don't know what the Director of Veterinary Services would say if you brought him here. Because that means, for him, he has no role to play. And yet, he is the technical advisor to the president, and he is the implementer of those kind of projects. So in our system, the governance has completely collapsed.
Corruption, 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 corruption. That is actually how you guys, Professor talks about issue and then talks about corruption a bit. And of course, you've mentioned it also widely in one way or the other. But the conversations around tackling corruption is a conversation we have had for the longest time. But there is still the issues of corruption. And perhaps my question to you, Daktari, because you are tackling on that, is to ask you, then what has been the obstacle in tackling the issue of corruption? Even as we make efforts in tackling corruption, what has been the stumbling blocks?
That one I'll answer very simply.
Yes.
That there is no goodwill. The president and his team have no goodwill in tackling corruption. Because when we look at all the reports of corruption, they don't involve private sector. They involve public servants. The private sector, like the Adani we had, they have no capacity or mandate to award themselves any sales to the government or any programs or projects in the government. This is done by public servants. So even if we talk about corruption until the cows come home, we will never address it unless we address the people who are supposed to run our public service. And the backstops are the president. That is the number one. When we got the whistle blowing on Adani, the president was the first person to say, no, Adani is okay. And then he's the person who came and said, we have cancelled Adani.
Yes.
So it tells you that he's not serious.
Yes.
So if you ask me, and that is why we are talking about alternative leadership.
Yes.
When I come and I say, if tomorrow I announce that I want to be president, I want to run for president,
yes,
I cannot do that because there is no election.
Okay.
The ones who are announcing that,
yes,
they're actually breaking the law.
Yes.
But when the time comes, if I stand up and I say that I want to be president, the first question that will come up is, Joe has never been a member of parliament. He has no experience. Like though experience in leadership, you obtain it from leadership.
Okay.
Now,
yes,
let me finish this.
Yes.
What we are saying is the kind of experience we have in the leaders that we have today,
yes,
is the experience that we Kenyans don't need anymore.
Yes.
Because they have the experience of being very good at corruption.
Yes.
They have the experience of being very good at stalling public projects. And they have the experience of enriching themselves from public funds. So we can talk about corruption, and we will continue talking.
Yes.
But until we have sorted out the caliber,
yes,
of the people we have there, including the president,
yes,
we will never deal with corruption,
yes,
decisively. So there is even no point,
yes,
of discussing that you need to change this law. Kenya has very good laws,
okay,
but they are being violated.
Yes.
And corruption is now used
Yes.
to prevent prosecution.
Yes.
So we need to change the type of people we elect as leaders.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's quite a robust conversation that we are having on corruption. We are taking a quick short break. But on this very important issue, I would have loved to listen from you, Professor, and more so because for the longest time, even as we talk about the issue corruption, it is not the first time we're having this conversation. We started having it immediately we got independent. We got the independence of this country. The previous regime, we had the president saying that we have been losing 2 billion shillings every day, a sitting president. And so this is a conversation that could perhaps, when you say that we lack goodwill from the president, then it makes someone perhaps even imagine that there is a system behind even the corruption, beyond the president. And that's a very pertinent question. I would have loved, Professor, maybe you could get to answer, Dr. Ari, as we come back from this break. But of course, there's a lot of other conversations on politics, governance, and leadership, and of course, the economy, as we'll be getting to delve deeply right on the inside. Well, Tuda Bwanda before is our SMS line at Eugene Kwach at GBS TV Africa. And of course, you can also get it from Fred Ugola and of course, Dr. Joseph. And of course, let's take a quick short break and we'll be right back.
We are going to be talking about goal setting itself and building resilience. Goal setting and building resilience.
So hawezi sema nita set goal, then someone else akuja kuwaki on the goal. Hawezi sema uta set goal yenyewe mwenyewe huwezi reach. Hawezi sema uta set goal na mali una stand like huwezi reach ile goal umeset.
Just imagine I've promised someone that I will do something to them by the end of this year, and then surely I fail. What will happen? You know, they will say Steve has broken my heart.
Nimeset hata mimi goals, but ni realistic goals.
Unajua aje ni realistic?
Because najua I'm capable of, like, they're realistic. They're making sense. Sijasema nanunua V8 by the end of the year. But because I know inaweza kuwa impossible because mtu anaangalianga. Si kumake tu. Unajua utaandika. By December 31st nataka kuwa na iPhone 16 Pro.
It is insane to do the same thing and expect different results. Yeah, so definitely we need to see, like, if it is not working, what is in this system that is making this thing fail, and I'm expecting these results. How can I improve this project?
The goals that you set, maybe ukiona like maybe that can be affected by kitu huwezi avoid.
About self-competition. I'm only in competition with the person I see in the mirror, and that is me. So it is about my personal development.
It's not just a matter of writing and putting and now waiting, you know.
Welcome to
Fun
Dance Class. Today we will continue learning about Jingle Bell Rock. Friends, first you cross your arm and put it on top of your head, and as you go in left side, you open it, then you come back to your place.
And then you make your leg 90 degrees, and then as you put your legs until 90 degrees, you need to jump a bit. 1, 2. Then as you jump a bit, you need to stretch your hands downwards.
Everywhere, GBS.
Thank you so much for joining us again for this conversation here on the Insight to the Bond of War is our SMS line at Eugene Uchinkwach and of course at GBS TV Africa. The conversation continues. Daktari, a bit before we go to the next question, your take on corruption in a jiffy, just in 30 seconds.
Yeah, there's once time when I wrote a book about the culture of complaining in the UK, where people they begin any conversation with complaint. Oh, it's very cold. Oh, it's very hot. Put on a jacket. Why should you talk about it? Because corruption is corruption. It's wrong. So for me, I do never want to discuss about corruption. It's not supposed to be discussed. What we need is the right person in State House.
Okay.
When we have the right person in State House,
Yes.
we will be able to solve the problem once and for all. Because if I become president today, and I call a press statement and appoint the ministers whom I think have good records, and I tell them from today, don't make money for me. I live in State House. I have every expense taken care by the state. I'm a state guest normally. That's why it's called State House. I don't need anybody to make for me money. If you ever make money for yourself, it's a problem.
Yes.
But look here, the president has the most expensive cabinet in the history of Kenya.
Yes.
The president's cabinet is worth a net worth of 18 billion shillings.
Yes.
Somebody with 4 billion shillings to your cabinet, what is he coming to do? To protect his wealth. In fact, I'll put something very controversial. If I would be president today, anybody with a net worth above 200 million should go set up a business, employ Kenyans, and generate jobs than coming to work in the cabinet.
Okay.
That will help entrepreneurs to go and make money.
Okay.
But here, whereby being in government is a privilege to make money, rather than respond to serve Kenyans, that's why we lose it. So the person is set out with the right vision. I will tell you quite, if you hear me one day I'm in State House, you'll discover that there is no single minister
Yes.
or PSS
Yes.
that are above 200 million worth.
Yes.
Look, Kibaki's cabinet was worth 1.8 billion shillings in total. Uhuru's cabinet was 2.2 billion shillings.
Yes.
Ruto's cabinet is worth 18 billion shillings.
Yes.
Are those people coming to work? Somebody who has worked in 3 administration, they have no legacy to leave.
Okay.
They have given a legacy. It's like hiring Stalin to play for Arsenal. He's won all the trophies in the world. He's just retiring. So you cannot hire such an incompetent person who the problem we have, they have created. So the current administration of Kenya is grossly incompetent and grossly corrupt.
Yes.
And the solution is the appointing authority should be the president. So the buck stops with him, like Joe has said.
Okay. Thank you so much. I want us to discuss a bit of economy, which I'll pose to you. But before that, now that you talked a bit about politics, let me come to Daktari. And this question, actually, I'll pose it to you. Because recently, President William Ruto actually did cabinet reshuffle. That, of course, saw Murkomen go to CS Interior. It also saw a number of people joining the cabinet. But, of course, there have been also triggers, a lot of conversations around it as to who joined, why was there political reasoning behind them joining, how did it happen? We have all that stuff, all those conversations. But of course, the biggest conversation is that it was actually meant to improve the efficiency of his administration. And of course, even to strengthen his leadership team and, of course, tackle pressing issues that we have seen over the last few months or a year, Kenyans continuing to agitate for, which you have been part of the movement. So my question is, how do you see this cabinet reshuffle? Was it done in good faith? Is it going to make Kenya better, if I can say, or if I may ask, from where you see it?
I think, as I'll say that William Ruto, as president of Kenya, is breaking all the records. He broke the first record by being the first DP to contest and get the position of president.
Yes.
Now, the other thing is, he is also breaking the record of being the first president to be completely unpopular with the people, less than 2 years from the time he took office. he's also coming in as the president who is waging a war against his own citizens. And he's also coming in as a president, among others, who is reshuffling his cabinet at a rate that has not been seen before. So that is why where everybody is also saying
Yes.
He's also going to keep the record by being a first-term president, a one-term president.
Okay.
Now, come to the reshuffles.
Yes.
When people can't perform in a place of work, what do? And you have tried to correct them. We relieve them of the jobs.
Yes.
That's what we do.
Okay.
We don't keep taking them around. So, in the first place,
Yes.
I don't believe in this kind of frequent cabinet reshuffles. We don't do that in the workplace.
Okay.
But I also note that William Ruto has never worked in a corporate setup. So he doesn't appear to understand corporate governance. If you cannot perform in one ministry, there is no way you are going to perform in another ministry. You should be terminated.
Okay.
Now, the other question that is coming in, why these so many reshuffles? You are reshuffling people, yet there are people you vetted and found that they were qualified for the jobs. It only means one thing, that these people were never employed or they were never given the jobs to come and perform in the ministry.
Yes.
There must have been other considerations.
Yes.
And when you look at it, these are people who have had, majority of them have had questionable characters.
Yes.
There are people who have had cases of corruption, which were with the EACC, and then somehow they disappeared. And again, there are people who have not performed in the previous appointments. Okay. So at the end of the day, what you are doing is you are bringing in people who are not likely to perform.
Okay.
And that is why we see the reshuffles.
Okay.
Now, there is another thing. William Ruto
Yes.
has set out to form what he's calling a broad-based government.
Yes.
And Kenyans are calling it a bread-based government.
Yes.
Now, he's picking people from the opposition, people who have not been supporting his government, and bringing them in. Now, you ask yourself, Kenya is a democracy, and we go to the elections, and we have the winner and the loser. But at the end of the day, all of us have voted in the president, and we accept it. For instance, we say, William Ruto is our president. It doesn't matter whether you voted him or you didn't vote for him. He is our president.
Okay.
But why is he so keen
Yes.
on destroying the opposition
Yes.
rather than correcting what the opposition is telling him is wrong?
Yes.
So even the way he's recruiting these people
Yes.
is questionable and is likely to fail. So it doesn't matter how many reshuffles he's going to make. And I mean, I invite you to observe.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how many reshuffles he's going to make.
Okay.
They are not going to perform.
Yes.
Thank you.
Professor,
Yes.
still on a political question,
Yeah.
because I know you're so much interested in the economy, which we will get to. But the question of on governance,
Yeah.
It's a very broad question that we have been asking. And you've talked about alternative leadership.
Yes.
And we understand that even as we talk about these leaders being reshuffled, political, the cabinet reshuffle, it is to achieve a certain dream. But according to Kenyans, what they're supposed to believe is that these people will then be able to impact, and then we will be able, the government will be able to gain public trust again to the government. I don't know whether that has been achieved, but again, on the same breath, there have been conversations against on Ruto must go.
Yeah.
Ruto must go. A conversation that actually Dr. Mugasha we had had, and you've said it is quite important that Ruto should be impeached.
Correct.
Well, I don't know whether you hold the same view, and a big question is President Ruto actually even impeachable as we talk about this particular question? And what is the likelihood and actually the implications of such an event in actually now Kenya's political landscape? Because you may talk about alternative leadership, but if you guys don't have a structure, then some other people may come and devour. Don't you think?
Yeah, so thank you very much, Kwash. You know, we talk about these things of cabinet reshuffle, and the first time when he was reshuffling the cabinet, he gave the reasons why he was reshuffling the cabinet.
Yes.
Service delivery, corruption, and poor non-performance. And then he talked about the issue of credibility.
Yes.
Now, there are some people who were removed that time.
Yes.
Now they have been brought back.
Yes.
The reasons remain the same.
Yeah.
Has the cabinet he reshuffled after the Gen Z performed?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
So because of that,
then
we stopped to listen to the reason why he's reshuffling the cabinet.
Yes.
And I can predict as an economist and governance expert that the main reason he's reshuffling is politics.
Yes.
Ruto is a good politician, but very poor economist. Ruto is a very good politician, but very poor governance expert. So that's where the problem is. So it doesn't matter how much reshuffle you make. It doesn't even matter how many, what they call coalitions you make. Because there's something in economics called synergy. Synergy means that 1 plus 1 should be bigger than 2. But now, with the additions he has made, where he has taken the competence of Kenya Kwanza and added Azimio competence. Are you seeing that there's something now bigger than Kenya Kwanza and Azimio together? No. Do you think that Kenyans are loving William Ruto by adding more people to his government? Because after he brought in Joho, Oparanya, Mbadi, Wandai, now Kagwe, Kabogo, Lee, is the Kenyan perception about Ruto's government improved? No.
Okay.
In fact, if you want to know, I've been looking at the social media. Do you know this is the reshuffle that Kenyans are not even discussing? Go to social media. People are not even bothered because they know nothing is going to happen. You know, if the cabinet is incompetent, I wouldn't say the word impotent. For an impotent cabinet, you don't expect any baby. So, so far as I'm concerned, there's a serious problem there. That's why I talk about alternative what? Leadership. What are we talking about? Someone who worked during Kibaki's time. Now Ruto has brought in at least 3 governors in his cabinet. One, Lee, Joho, and Kabogo. Remember, Kabogo was rejected by people of Kiambu after the first term, isn't it? Lee was rejected by people in Nakuru after the first term, isn't it? Joho, people are crying in Mombasa of the problems they left in Mombasa. Where are they going to take him? So the question you can also ask is, did William Ruto have a vision for Kenya, a vision for running for president, or he just wanted to be told, Mr. President? Now, if you bring your opponent, people who oppose to you into government, have we developed a shared vision?
Okay.
I'm an expert in business. They're so-called mergers and acquisition. Okay. If, for example, CFC was an insurance company. Stanbic was a bank. When they came together, they formed a shared vision of CFC Stanbic, isn't it? Now, what is the shared vision between this Azimio or ODM, if you like, with this one? And I want to talk about the issue of alternative leadership. When we mean alternative leadership, we mean a change of software. The president has brought back tired, retired, and retarded, ideologically retired people. You understand? The alternative leadership here is the position for CS and PS should be youthful. You bring somebody who will be spending a lot of time in hospital, isn't it? Someone who will be so tired even to do a meeting with people. Now, we want to bring the innovative, energetic, creative, intellectual, and very industrious nature in the young people to come to those positions. Like if I would become president, Kwach, the position of PS will be given mostly to young people so that they can also grow and become CSS, and also they can grow and become president.
Yes.
But if you bring somebody who has no ambition to go further,
Yes.
then even if they're still in your government,
Yes.
they have nothing to lose because they have no ambition.
Yes.
If you bring somebody like Kwach to sit in one of the ministry, and Kwach dreams of becoming president, you will ensure you do diligently because you are looking for something ahead.
Okay.
But if you are knowing this is your last job,
Yes.
you totally do not care. So this alternative leadership cannot be taken away from us,
Yes.
because we have defined what it means.
Yes.
And let me tell you what, it's been adopted in so many areas that is what is driving conversation on the ground, that this is the hope for Kenya,
Yes.
that there is alternative leadership. Tunaita kwa Kiswahili, serikali mbadala,
Yes.
is a different ways of doing things.
Yes. And wow, that is quite a lot.
Yeah.
And of course, still it's a question on leadership and the governance still. As I ask you, that is there a link between the state of leadership, governance, and of course now the poor economy that we have, where you sit, Dr. Ari?
Okay. Now, there is a very, very clear link between poor leadership and governance,
Yes.
and poor economy.
Okay.
A poor leadership and governance, if we want to look at it from the layman's language,
Yes.
it's a sick body,
Yes.
somebody who is sick. And that is the person you want to go to the office
Yes.
and do work and generate income. It is not possible.
Yes.
Now, poor leadership has brought us this runaway corruption.
Yes.
Today, if you want to do anything
Yes.
in a government office, there are people there waiting to ask you for money.
Okay.
What does that do? It drives up the cost of doing business.
Okay.
When you are walking on the street, the police arrest you, and then they take you to the police station.
Okay.
They ask you for some money, like they ask you for 500, and you don't have.
Okay.
They take you to the police station.
Yes.
And then, because of the same corruption we are talking about, your relatives or your friends will come to get you out of the police station on cash bail of 2,000 shillings. You have lost money.
Okay.
You have lost time. You are not working. And your people have also lost time. And I'll tell you, in the police stations, once you pay cash bail, they don't give it back to you. They keep taking you around.
Yes. Dr. Ari, let me just ask you this,
Yes.
because of time.
Yeah.
There is an issue, as you guys have put it quite well.
Yes.
Now, what is the way forward? Do you think that it can be fixed, this leadership issue? And if so, how will then Kenyans fix it, in your words?
For me, and for us,
Yes.
as concerned citizens,
Yes.
movement of Kenya, where we are the co-conveners with Professor Ogola here,
Yes.
where we have reached, the president must either resign or Parliament must impeach him.
Yes.
We need to change this leadership.
Yes.
We must get alternative leadership. Now, you asked the question before whether it is possible to impeach the president. Well, let me start with the resignation.
Okay.
Resignation is a personal responsibility where the president looks and says, I've been unable to serve this country. And particularly on this issue of security, abductions, killing, disappearances, there is no way he can be forgiven for that. Now, so to resign or not to resign, that is a decision of the president to make, but that would be the best thing for him to do. Kenyans need to be released from the hostage of their leaders. Now, you asked about impeachment, whether it is possible or not. Yes, it is possible to impeach the president. We have just impeached the deputy president.
Yes.
The deputy president is a step below the president. Now, this impeachment is not abstract. It is there in the Constitution. When you look at Article 145 of the Constitution, it tells us how the president can leave office. And one of the ways of leaving office is by impeachment.
Okay.
Now, who does the impeachment? If you go to chapter 1 of the Constitution, Article 1,
Yes.
it tells us that sovereign power
Yes.
belongs to the people
Yeah.
of the Republic of Kenya.
Okay.
And this sovereign power, it is their mandate or authority
Yes.
to make decisions
Okay.
about their destiny.
Okay.
Now, this power in Article 2, it tells you that citizens can exercise sovereign power directly or indirectly. Indirectly is by instructing their members of parliament to take action on an issue that they would like to be done.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
the way to impeach the president is for the citizens to instruct the members of parliament
Yes.
to impeach the president.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I would have wished to delve deeply into this conversation on impeaching the president, but permit me to ask you something quite economical, which I'm reminded of asking from an economical perspective. Because for the longest time, Kenya's tax policy has actually been subject to debate and criticism due to its perceived inconsistencies and, of course, frequent changes. Now, the national tax policy aims to actually enhance predictability and transparency in tax policies, which will then be even favorable for SMEs and businesses, as we may get to understand. So, of course, issues such as regressive tax structures, frequent policy reversals, and heavy reliance on indirect taxes like VAT and, of course, excess duties have created unpredictable fiscal and environment. And, of course, we have even seen the recent Finance Bill 2024, which faced a lot of scrutiny and protest. And this actually then highlights the need for a coherent and equitable tax system. Perhaps in few words, Professor, what will you say about this, even as we are coming to the end, the close of the show?
Yeah, should I be in charge of this economy?
Yes.
I wouldn't do what Mbadi said even today.
Yes.
When he was still talking about broadening the tax base.
Yes.
Because first of all, before you solve a problem, you have to have the right diagnostic.
Yes.
When the diagnosis is wrong, he's a doctor.
Yes.
Already, there's no need of discussing the solution. So what's the Kenyan problem? The Kenyan problem are just three. The first problem, we have high unemployment. So if you cannot create employment, whom are you going to tax?
Yes.
Secondly,
Yes.
we have the issue of high debt.
Yes.
And lastly, we have low economic activity, meaning the money is not circulating. People are not buying from each other, money is not moving.
Yes.
Once you know that's the problem, a solution cannot be one, which is the silver bullet they are using, tax. You must have more solutions.
Okay.
What are these solutions? The first thing I would do, if I was in this economy, I'll cut the government expenditure. So the nonsense of broad-based government is not solving the problem, because if the taxes are high because the government is spending too much, so cut government expenditure, because if you are collecting more money and you are adding more expenditures, you cannot actually get advantage. Secondly, I'll go to central bank and lower the interest rate, the interbank rates, because that does not allow entrepreneurs to do business and create jobs for people, because the problem is what? Unemployment. Thirdly, what I'll do is that I will ensure that I stop borrowing money domestically, because domestic debt in Kenya constitute over 69% of the total debt. And that's where the fraud is. Because if you're borrowing too money using the local debt, the interests are very high, so it's a commercial loan, and therefore repayment becomes a problem. Lastly, I'll stop paying this useless, odious debt. That will call for debt restructure. Why am I trying to say so? Do you know, Kwach, that as late as July 2023,
Yes.
The debt service to revenue was 101%, meaning that you can use the money you are collecting from Kenya to pay debts. So if you restructure this odious debt and lower that debt, isn't it? Because now being told for 1 shilling you collect, 70 cents goes to servicing debt. So that's where the issue is. That will turn around the economy on the head. And it won't take 6 months. In 1 month or two, you start seeing the results.
Okay. As we come to the end of this, Professor Gola, if you're given an opportunity to lead this nation, as you've talked about alternative leadership, what are the specific strategies and policies that will put in place in 30 seconds, kindly?
Actually, the answer is the vision I have, which is called Solomonic Economics. This book belongs to you today.
Yes. Thank you.
Secondly, lean
Yes.
and clean government.
Oh, thank you so
Lean
much. Yes.
is meaning that
Yes.
not heavy expenditure government,
Yes.
and then clean means no corruption.
Yes.
That vision, with the things I discuss about how to solve the economy,
Yes.
should take Kenya where Kenya belongs, because we need to take Project Kenya
Uh-huh.
as serious as you can take any project. Yeah.
Sir,
Yes.
you were always on matters leadership, governance. What will you do, given an opportunity to now become the president, to ensure that you uphold the rule of law in Kenya on governance, as Dr. Mugashe, the 7th president of Kenya? Or is this the
It's the
6th?
sixth.
Or the
It's the
6th?
sixth. Yeah.
And, what will you do?
Okay. Thank you very much. It is very clear.
Yes.
And there are no two ways about it. If you want to fix the leadership and governance of this country, one, you must, I mean, if I'm given the opportunity to lead the country, the first thing is I will never have anybody in the country
Yes.
looking for money for me,
Okay.
because I'm paid for by the government.
Yes.
And all my expenses are paid by government, and mine is to serve the people. That is one. Second,
Yes.
very strict adherence to the rule of law. And we have said many times here, I would follow the Constitution diligently.
Yes.
I would follow the laws of Kenya.
Yes.
And I will also follow government policy
Yes.
that we have put in place.
Yes.
That is the leadership and governance manual.
Yes.
You do that,
Yes.
even the economy, I mean the government will be lean and clean,
Thank you so much.
as Professor said.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you very
And of course, Professor, thank you so much also.
Thank
It was actually nice hosting the two of you, Professor and Dr. And of course, I'm also happy that I've gotten a book, Solomonic Economics. Or perhaps, of course, I'm going to take a keen look in and get to study what this good book is talking about. So why it is imperative to consider a knowledge-based economic model. Perhaps you've also talked about bottom-up economic model?
Actually, the opposite of it.
Okay, interesting. Well, I wish we could have more of this conversation, which I believe we will, of course, organize for another conversation. But of course, to this extent, we are very much grateful to you and, of course, to you, our viewers, for being on watch as we got to indulge and deeply dive into issues that, of course, concern and matter to you, of course, through the eyes of these thought leaders, Professor Ogola and, of course, Dr. Mugashe. Thank you so much. My name is Eugene Kwach, and you're watching GBS TV. That comes to you every Friday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Well, thank you so much, and, of course, have a good night to the bond. Before is our SMS line, and GBS TV Africa at Eugene Kwach. A good night.
have amazing topic. Hey, turning passion.
Kwa hakika karibu mtazamaji wangu wa GBS TV mahali popote ulipo. Hii ni GBS TV Jumatatu nikiwa na Kwa hakika karibu mtazamaji wangu wa GBS TV mahali popote ulipo.
Hii ni one of the roads kutoka katika hizo estates.
Okay, na mwelekezo wangu ananiambia ni ujenzi wa